In a small village on the outskirts of Lagos, Nigeria, a young man named Adewale gazed out of the cracked window of his modest home. The scorching sun reflected the harsh realities of his life. Adewale had grown up in a country teetering on the brink of economic collapse. Corruption was rampant, opportunities were scarce, and the weight of the world seemed to rest on his shoulders. Adewale's father had been a fisherman, struggling to make ends meet. When his father passed away, Adewale, the eldest of 4 siblings, assumed the role of the family's provider. His mother, Amina, did her best to support the family by selling vegetables at the local market, but it was never enough. Adewale's first attempt at securing a job was met with frustration. He had managed to finish high school with decent grades, but every job application was met with rejection. He applied to countless positions, from bank clerk to factory worker, but nepotism and favoritism were the order of the day. Without connections or bribes, Adewale was left out in the cold. Determined to take matters into his own hands, Adewale ventured into small-scale business. He started a roadside kiosk selling mobile phone accessories, using his meager savings to stock the stall. At first, business was promising. People flocked to his kiosk, and he dared to dream of a brighter future. But dreams, as he learned, could be fragile. One evening, as Adewale was closing up shop, a gang of thieves descended upon his kiosk. They ransacked it, leaving him with nothing but shattered hopes and broken merchandise. The police, known for their corruption and inefficiency, offered no help. His dreams of entrepreneurship lay in ruins. Adewale tried his hand at farming next. With the help of a few friends, he rented a small plot of land on the outskirts of the village. They planted cassava and maize, hoping for a bountiful harvest. But nature can be as unforgiving as human greed. A severe drought struck that year, decimating their crops and plunging them deeper into debt. Desperation gnawed at Adewale's soul. His younger siblings, Adissa, Bola, and Kemi, looked up to him with eyes full of hope, while his mother aged before his eyes, worry etched into her face. Adewale's failures weighed heavily on him, each one a blow to his spirit. One night, as he lay on his mat, staring at the ceiling of their dimly lit home, Adewale felt the crushing weight of hopelessness. He had exhausted every avenue, tried every path, and yet he was no closer to lifting his family out of poverty. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he blinked them away, refusing to let despair claim him entirely. The following morning, as Adewale roamed the bustling streets of Lagos, a thought began to take shape in his mind. Stories of people escaping to Europe in search of a better life were whispered in the alleys and markets. Some returned with tales of prosperity, while others vanished into the unknown. The risk was immense, but so were the potential rewards. The government, mired in corruption and plagued by unfavorable policies, offered no respite. The nation's youth were left to fend for themselves, their dreams stifled by systemic rot. Adewale knew he couldn't continue like this. He had to find a way out, not just for himself, but for his family. His plan was fraught with peril. The only feasible route was through the Sahara Desert, a journey fraught with dangers both natural and man-made. Tales of bandits, dehydration, and death haunted those who dared to cross. But Adewale's desperation fueled his resolve. He spent weeks gathering information, speaking to those who had attempted the journey, and saving every naira he could. He sold the remnants of his kiosk, borrowed money from friends, and even pawned his father's fishing boat. Every resource he could muster went into preparing for the journey. The day of departure arrived. Adewale's family gathered to bid him farewell. His mother, Amina, clung to him, her eyes filled with tears. "My son, be careful," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Remember, we are praying for you." Adewale hugged his siblings tightly. Adissa, the second-born, looked at him with a mix of admiration and fear. "You have to come back, brother," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "Promise us." "I promise," Adewale replied, though his heart was heavy with uncertainty. He took one last look at his family, etching their faces into his memory, and set off on a journey that would change his life forever. The first few days of the desert journey were an assault on the senses. Adewale joined a group of migrants led by a seasoned guide named Musa. They trudged through the endless expanse of sand, the sun beating down mercilessly. The heat was oppressive, and the air shimmered with mirages that played tricks on their eyes. Adewale befriended a young man named Ibrahim, who had left his home in Niger in search of a better life. They shared stories of their struggles and dreams, finding solace in each other's company. The camaraderie among the group was a thin thread that kept them going amidst the harsh conditions. The nights were no better. The temperature plummeted, and the cold seeped into their bones. The group huddled together for warmth, their bodies aching from the day's march. Adewale clutched the small bundle of belongings he had brought: a few clothes, a water bottle, and a photograph of his family. As the days wore on, the signs of hardship began to show. Water became scarce, and every drop was rationed. The sunburnt skin, cracked lips, and blistered feet were constant reminders of their plight. Adewale's resolve was tested with every step, but he refused to give in. One evening, as they rested under the shelter of a rocky outcrop, Musa gathered the group. "We must be cautious," he warned. "The desert is unforgiving, and danger is always lurking. Stick together and keep your wits about you." Adewale nodded, his mind drifting to the stories he had heard about bandits and wild animals. The journey was only beginning, and the road ahead was long and treacherous. On the 5th day of their journey, a sandstorm struck with little warning. The sky darkened, and the wind howled, whipping up the sand into a blinding frenzy. The group huddled together, using their scarves and clothing to shield themselves from the biting particles. Adewale struggled to keep his eyes open, his vision obscured by the swirling sand. He clung to Ibrahim, their grips tight as they fought to stay together. The storm raged on, an unrelenting force of nature that threatened to tear them apart. Hours passed, though it felt like an eternity. When the storm finally subsided, the group was left disoriented and scattered. Adewale and Ibrahim stumbled through the dunes, calling out for the others. The desert had transformed, the landscape altered by the storm's fury. They found Musa and a few others huddled behind a large rock, their faces etched with exhaustion. "We must keep moving," Musa urged. "We cannot afford to linger here." The group's morale was at an all-time low. They had lost supplies in the storm, and the journey ahead seemed even more daunting. But Adewale's determination burned brighter than ever. He helped the others gather their bearings, his resolve unshaken. The desert tested them at every turn, but Adewale's spirit remained unbroken. He knew that giving up was not an option. His family depended on him, and he was determined to reach Europe, no matter the cost. As the days turned into weeks, the group grew closer. Shared hardship forged bonds that transcended their differences. Adewale and Ibrahim became inseparable, their friendship a beacon of hope in the vast desert. The group faced countless challenges: scorching heat, freezing nights, and dwindling supplies. They encountered other migrants, some of whom joined their journey while others turned back, defeated by the harsh conditions. The desert took its toll on everyone's physical and mental health. Tempers flared and conflicts arose. One night, an argument broke out over the remaining water supplies. Two men, Chima and Abdullah, came to blows, their desperation boiling over. Musa intervened, but the tension lingered, a constant reminder of the fragility of their situation. Adewale did his best to mediate, offering words of encouragement and support. He knew that unity was their only chance of survival. Despite the challenges, he held on to hope, drawing strength from his memories of home and his dreams of a better future. One evening, as they rested by a small campfire, Ibrahim shared his story. He spoke of his family, his dreams of becoming an engineer, and the sacrifices he had made to embark on this journey. Adewale listened, his heart aching with empathy. They were kindred spirits, bound by their shared struggle. The journey was far from over, and the road ahead was uncertain. But Adewale knew that as long as they had each other, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The desert might break their bodies, but it would not break their spirits. One scorching afternoon, the group stumbled upon an unexpected sight: a small oasis nestled among the dunes. The sight of water and palm trees was like a mirage, a beacon of hope in the endless desert. The group's spirits soared as they rushed to the oasis, their parched throats craving the cool, refreshing water. Adewale knelt by the edge of the oasis, scooping handfuls of water to his lips. The sensation was pure bliss, a moment of relief in their arduous journey. The group took the opportunity to rest, replenish their supplies, and gather their strength. As they sat under the shade of the palm trees, a nomad approached. His name was Hamid, and he offered them food and advice. "The desert is unforgiving," he said, his eyes filled with wisdom. "But you have come this far. Do not lose hope. Europe is still a long way, but it is within reach." Hamid's words rekindled Adewale's determination. He shared stories of other migrants who had made it to Europe, their lives transformed by the opportunities they found. Adewale's resolve deepened, his dreams of a better life fueling his every step. The oasis provided a temporary respite, a moment of peace amidst the chaos. But the group knew they could not linger. They thanked Hamid for his kindness and set off once more, their spirits lifted by the glimmer of hope they had found. The night fell upon the desert like a shroud, the temperature dropping to near freezing levels. The group huddled together for warmth, their bodies exhausted from the day's march. The silence of the desert was broken only by the howling wind and the occasional rustle of sand. Suddenly, the peace was shattered by the sound of distant gunfire. Panic spread through the group as they realized they were under attack. Bandits, drawn by the prospect of easy prey, had descended upon them. The night erupted into chaos as the group scrambled to defend themselves. Adewale's heart pounded in his chest as he grabbed a makeshift weapon, a sturdy branch he had picked up earlier. He stood his ground, his mind racing with fear and adrenaline. The bandits were ruthless, their faces masked by scarves, their eyes gleaming with malice. Ibrahim fought beside him, their bond of friendship turning into a fierce determination to survive. They fended off the attackers, their bravery a testament to their will to live. The night was a blur of violence and terror, each moment a battle for survival. When the dust settled, the group was left battered and bruised. Several members were injured, and their supplies had been raided. Adewale surveyed the scene, his heart heavy with sorrow. But amidst the wreckage, he found a renewed sense of purpose. They had survived the deadliest night of their journey, and their resolve was stronger than ever.